Good morning. My name is Mike Schutten, and I'm the director for WeNeedALaw.ca. We are a public awareness campaign with a mission to build support for laws that protect preborn children in the womb. This is Michelle Lemire, and she will be offering a few remarks when I conclude mine. Good morning. Today, Canada is one of only 3 countries in the world with no legal protection for children in the womb. We initiated Life Tour during the current election campaign because Canada needs to begin taking steps to protect the smallest members of the human family. With 20 events from Halifax to Vancouver, Life Tour seeks to ensure that Canada's leaders face the injustice being committed against 100,000 of our preborn neighbors every single year. We are proposing 3 sensible laws that would begin to regulate abortion. The first is a late-term abortion law, which would prohibit abortions in the latter stages of pregnancy and after the point in which a preborn child can survive outside of the womb. When the Supreme Court of Canada struck down Canada's existing abortion regulations in 1988, they did not envision a legal void surrounding preborn human rights that has lasted now for almost 3 decades. One of the primary reasons for this extended legal void is that shrill voices from a minority of Canadians have paralyzed political leaders to the point where Canada is completely out of step with every other democracy, that abortions are legal even after a fetus has become viable and can survive outside of the womb. A majority of Canadians are not comfortable with this status quo and support measures that would restrict abortion and protect children in the womb after a certain stage of gestation. The second law that we are calling upon a newly constructed government to pass concerns the very serious issue of sex-selective abortion. A Canadian Medical Association journal study published in 2012 concluded that, and I quote, "After reviewing all registered singleton live births in Ontario between 2002 and 2007, we found a significantly higher male-to-female ratio among infants of multiparous women originally born in India than among infants of multiparous women born in Canada. In other words, female babies are aborted at a much higher rate than male babies. In fact, in June 2012, CBC reported that these very things are happening in Canada. And it is our hope that a new parliament will take a bold stand by acting swiftly to address this serious injustice in our country. The third provision we are calling upon our elected lawmakers to pass does not even concern the issue of abortion. Rather, if passed, it would see justice for preborn victims of crime. Michelle Lemire will now offer some remarks on why Canada needs to pass a law that recognizes a preborn child as a second victim when a crime is committed against a pregnant woman.
Good morning. My name is Michelle Lemire. I've lived in Ottawa for the past 4 years, and I was born and raised in Windsor, Ontario. I'm here on behalf of my friend, Cassie Cake, and her family. On December 11th, 2014, my life changed forever. I received a phone call informing me that my best friend of 26 years had died. I was paralyzed with emotion. I felt agony, pain, and confusion. At that moment, I was barely able to ask, "What about the baby?" They were both gone, and I completely lost it. She was 7 months pregnant at the time of her death. As if this news wasn't horrible enough, a few days later, we found out the reality of the situation. They had been murdered. Cassie was deserving, grateful to be having a baby. She was confident, thoughtful, and caring, and above all, she loved to laugh. attributes she would have passed along to her daughter Molly. It was apparent at Cassie and Molly's funeral that their deaths had a great loss on so many people. How could this have happened to them? Windsor and the surrounding area have been deeply affected by this tragedy. A permanent scar has been left on her place of work, her community, family, and friends. When Cassie was murdered, her daughter was not recognized as a human being under Canadian criminal law, only because she had not yet exited her mother's womb. As a result of this legal shortcoming, no murder charge will ever be laid against the person who viciously took Molly's life. Unfortunately, Cassie and Molly's story is one of many. Something needs to change. Molly Matters campaign was created to bring awareness to this injustice. 2 different petitions were created under the same name, and signatures are being collected in communities across Canada. We are very optimistic such a law could be passed. In fact, some years ago, it nearly did. In 2007, Edmonton MP Ken Epp introduced Bill C484. The bill was called the Unborn Victims of Crime Act. Mr. Epp's bill passed second reading in Parliament but failed to become law because an election was called in the fall of 2008. However, his bill had cross-party support, and there is still majority support for it today. The reality is, when a pregnant woman is attacked and her assailant kills or causes harm to her preborn child, no charge can ever be laid in that child's death. This is fundamentally wrong. This legislative void allows further victimization of women and their children. Allow me to be very clear. Abortion is legal in Canada throughout the entire 9 months of pregnancy for any reason. Preborn victims law does nothing to change this. A preborn victims bill modeled after Bill C484 would not criminalize abortion and cannot be interpreted as Parliament restricting a woman's right to choose to have an abortion. A law protecting preborn victims of crime is sensible. This is a step in the right direction and supported by the majority of Canadians from across the political spectrum. In a few weeks, Canada will have a new government. We are calling upon all members of Parliament to do everything they can to act quickly in implementing protections for children in the womb. And we respectfully ask Mr. Harper, Mr. Mulcair, and Mr. Trudeau to stop treating preborn children as if they are just a political liability. Thank you.
You speak French? No. What's your group? Like, who's behind the group, and what's
It's the
on the mic?
Oh, my group is Molly Matters.
Okay. The pro-life tour is?
Yes, the Life Tour is sponsored by weneedalaw.ca. That is the group name, weneedalaw.ca.
Like, who's in that group?
I am. I'm the director of that campaign.
And what's the purpose of all this? It's because, I mean, NDP, the Liberals they indicated that they don't want to restrict abortion. Like, do you think any of this will ring a bell to their ear, or you're just hoping that the Conservative go through it?
Our mission is to build support amongst Canadians so that there is such a groundswell that any government will need to act on this issue. Historically, governments have always taken positions on things, and when support builds for a change in law, when public policy is strong enough for a change, or public opinion is strong enough for a change in public policy, then governments, for the most part, are obliged to act. So we are simply building support, and we are conducting Life Tour during this election campaign because we want candidates who are running for any party to be on notice that they will be called upon to act quickly when elected.
If you have to choose, I mean, between the three parties, there's one obviously that might be a little more suitable for your needs.
To be clear, our campaign is strictly nonpartisan. There's people who are projecting any government. We don't know at this point. But
What would you like to see?
we have no specific preference. Our goal is to build support amongst Canadians. And it doesn't matter who is in power at the time. When there is enough of a call to action from Canadian people, the government will act. Thank you.